for most of the crew that isn't here right now. That's okay. So, the point I was making is you can do the most exercise you've probably ever done in your life, trekking around these hills 65 miles this week, doing 2 yoga classes, 2 exercise classes. That's amazing. On fewer calories than you would normally have. It kind of blows all our old theories out of the water. So what's the secret here? We need to consider nutrients. Nutrients are life force. Nutritive support from these plant foods that we grow in our garden, just raw fruits and vegetables, not exclusively raw fruits and vegetables, but the majority of our diet here being raw plant foods, that this nutritive support is triggering every organ and function to work at its elite level. Your body just becomes a more powerful machine. It just builds your horsepower. Now that's a slice of it. That's part of it. This other detail I'm going to give you is much lesser known. This isn't a live demonstration or anything. I'm actually turning off the hot tub. I suppose we could do our class in the hot tub, but I don't know. About 10 minutes into it, everybody might start to get a little starry-eyed. So here's the secret. All of this stuff that accumulates on our body, extra fat, that's fuel. It's just stored fuel. And the reason it becomes stubborn and people do an exorbitant amount of exercise and it just doesn't seem to go away is because our fat stores toxins. It's your body's self-defense. The toxins from just metabolic waste, from too much processed food or not breathing the best air or drinking the best liquid, that stuff does accumulate in the body over time. And it's your body's self-defense. If there are toxins running in your bloodstream, it's too much wear and tear on this sensitive stuff. Fat cells become engorged with that toxic material. It sucks it up to protect these vital things. People don't know that. It's just a simple law of human biology that's just too little known. Hi. So we're just talking about like what some of the secrets are, why you can do so much exercise on fewer calories than you would normally have. Part of it is just the nutritive support, and the other half of it is we're actually triggering your body to be able to use fat reserves, where normally it would be stubborn for people who are just trying to do tons of exercise and it doesn't seem to go away. So the key is to get that toxic material out. Detox. And people think of detox as like these heroic cleanses where they go to other health retreats and they're doing colonics and fasting and juices, and that's cool, that's extreme, but I mean, it's a balance. We should always be detoxifying. You know, the body's built to do it. We don't have to do these heroic detoxes. I used to do them. I was a creature of extremes where I would live like this exorbitantly debaucherous lifestyle and then go, you know, suffer at health retreats and cleanse. It was not a pleasurable process at all. And so after swinging back and forth, finally, you know, my body's instincts were like, enough, stop. And actually I had a major falling out with my health, and so just my survival just demanded like this precision-tuned health protocol. And not only does it enable you to do this amazing exercise, but I really do feel confident that you, I mean, there's no silver bullet you can take that's going to just make your health better like that. The silver bullet is oxygen, nutrient-rich blood that you cultivate with your lifestyle. And when you get this thing working in its elite condition, I really feel the body can virtually heal itself of anything. Maybe not 100%, but I am confident at the very least, if you're dealing with some kind of health malady like I was, your symptoms are going to get way better. And you're going to live a lot longer. So, back to the point I was making. You've got to pull the toxic funk out of the body, out of your fat cells, and then your body, because, again, your body's reluctant to burn these fat cells when they're storing toxins, because then they just get dumped right back into the bloodstream. Wear and tear on this sensitive stuff. Detoxifying lifestyle. Keep this stuff out. And then your body's like, oh, good, fuel. Again, it's just fuel. Carbs and fats, both fuel. And so, what is the most detoxifying food for pulling toxic funk out of the body? Law of human biology. What is it?
Water.
It's a means. It's the Vehicle. Brilliant. So, but as far as foods, what category?
Got the green.
Greens. Green foods of all kinds. Kale, arugula, blue-green algae, mustard greens, parsley, cilantro, spinach, basil. That it's green foods of any kind, and it's chlorophyll that make green things green. Chlorophyll is like this strong negative charge molecule in plant foods. It's what turns all living green things green. And it's what bonds to, again, metabolic waste, acids, heavy metals, toxins in the bloodstream and in fat cells, and basically sucks them out. And so basically we just feed you massive amounts of green foods and green drinks and anything green. And then again, your body's like, oh good, fuel. That's why people lose inches here. You're going to see a big change in those numbers if that's a priority for you. Those who've been here before know well what I'm talking about. You may not lose weight, because remember, you're building lean muscle. Okay? But you are going to lose inches, and that's good. And actually, people don't know, also, people know, but it's often forgotten that one of the keys to being slim and trim is to build more lean muscle. I know we think of doing lots of cardio to burn calories and keep our metabolism up, but when you build more lean muscle, you're just building a bigger engine. But then that's what keeps your metabolism like sustained at a high level. Your body's just having to burn more fuel in order to sustain. Does that make sense? And you guys are doing the most load-bearing exercise in your life. I am confident. And it isn't just this. It's that. Walking up hills. You're doing load-bearing exercise with the biggest muscles in your body. So, if you can do, I mean, the best exercise you can possibly do for being lean and mean and longevity, hiking. Preferably hills, because then it's load-bearing. But any hiking, any fast walking, running's a little too much wear and tear in my opinion. Unless it's, if it's infrequent, fine. But hiking, I mean, look, you guys are doing this for 6 days in a row with no rest days. The body's built to do that. It's the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. The body adapted to 200,000 years of that very thing. And the body loves it. Not only are you building lean muscle, you're building sturdier joints. So, also very good. So, hike hills, eat greens, drink them, whatever. So.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
So there are a couple other things I'm going to make sure I cover, but again, I want to talk to you about what you want to talk about. So again, I can't promise I can answer everything.
What's the difference between raw and cooked?
Okay.
Because I can tell you, like, when I eat a lot of raw food, it makes me gassy.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily make me feeling great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky thing because they're just always new diets, or there's a whole buzz about it where, the low-fat diet, the 80-10-10 diet, the zone diet, the raw food diet, at last we got it. No, wait a minute, the paleo diet, it's just extremes. Mm-hmm. And it's a balance. And yes, in general, more Americans could use a greater degree of raw plant foods, just because of all the other processed foods, bread, pasta, chips, crackers, baked foods, fried food, too many animal protein products. That again, it's a balance. And here's a law of human biology is that raw foods cool the body. Cooked foods, even though they may not be hot, do warm the body. It's basically just interaction with the spleen. And so if you have too many raw foods, the body indicates with cold hands, cold feet, and gassy because it cools your spleen. Your spleen's like your digestion's like heater, fire. And when that thing dampens and cools, that's when people can get a little, it's like, you just don't digest food that well. Yeah, that's why, that's why vegans and raw foodists always take the stairs instead of the elevator. Yeah, it's a balance, and it's different for everybody. And again, for even each individual person, you have more flexibility than you would think. Instinctively, you're going to crave more cooked foods in the winter as they warm the body. As raw foods cool the body, that's why people in the summer are particularly akin to like watermelon and more berries and salads. where in the winter you want soups. But again, it's a balance, and you got to just go with your body's instincts. What are you craving? And that's the cool thing, is that when you're navigating in the realm of just more whole plant foods like what you're having here, you're going to have some favorites here, some favorite meals where make those when you go home. Those are your body's instincts saying, okay. When you're like out there in the modern world of more processed food, it's hard because, you know, I know that we have a liking for you know, this pizza or that burger at that joint, where again, when you're in the realm more of plant foods and you have your favorites, that's your body's instincts. You know, just akin to that nutritive content in that food. You know, the whole thing where you need 100% of this nutrient, 40 milligrams of this, da-da-da, that's ridiculous. There are many body types where they just hardly need any one particular nutrient. I mean, look at the vast variety between, you know, Eskimos and Balinese. Look at the two contrast to the two diets. I don't know how well they would do to swap places. Hi.
Someone already sitting here.
No, it's yours. I recorded the first bit.
So when, I mean, I won't speak for all of us, but me personally wouldn't be able to live. I wish I could live like this all the time.
Yes.
But it's hard to.
It's not sustainable.
Work and children.
It's too extreme.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what are there some good thoughts or ideas for, you know, when you're home, think about, you know, 5 little meals a day, or, you know, think about breakfast that look like this. I mean, are there things that are like practical that can be taken from?
Simplicity is my protocol. You know, I designed a lot of this menu so that Rosemary can make this stuff by herself in this small kitchen. Not all the meals are easy, but you do get an ashram cookbook, and also you get a cookbook designed by Waska and, oh shoot, I'm spacing her name. She's coming here this week to do a recipe demo, I believe. But simplicity is sort of her protocol too.
There's also ones from the website.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're very quick.
So here's my philosophy. I love blending things. Smoothies, not exclusively smoothies. I like just throwing veggies in the blender, raw or cooked, and making soups, sauces, pestos, dips, dressings.
And then just having that handy.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can make big batches and then store it in the fridge. I make a big pot of soup, like a gallon pot of soup, and that's all I eat for dinner. The body likes some degree of repetition. You don't want to get bored on something. Again, your nutritive needs, your taste may change throughout the seasons. But, I mean, look at many of the older cultures in the world. They don't have anywhere near the variety that we do now. You know. So, I like to figure out a recipe or two that you really like and just get into that groove for a while and see how your body does. Soups are way easier to make than people think. Whenever I say you should eat more soup, people get a little depressed because, you know, just canned soup, the kind of the standard soup is just so unsatisfying. So there are a couple keys. And again, it's the easiest thing in the whole wide world. You just chop up your favorite vegetables. For me, and the soup you had Monday night, I just chop. I mean, my recipe's a little different. It's actually more simple because I like to cheat. I like to have my food made in just minutes. But I chop up sweet potato, broccoli, kale. That's it. Chop it up, throw it in the pot, and boil it for steam boil for 15 minutes. And then here's the trick: is to scoop about a quarter of the pot out into the blender and whip it down until it's totally pureed and dump it back in. Now that's the really meaty, hearty broth, so that you're not just eating some vegetables floating in water. That's half of what makes soup really satisfying. The other half, that takes it above and beyond so that it's like this satisfying meal, butter. I know that may raise eyebrows, but it's actually what I consider to be somewhat of a marvelous food. And your soup, you're like, are you serious? The soup that we made for you guys last night, we used ghee, which is similar to butter. It's basically, ghee is just low-boiled butter until the residual protein separates. There's a little bit of protein in butter, and that's why butter burns. But ghee doesn't burn. It's you can cook it high temperatures. It's popular in many Asian cultures. It's been in the human diet for tens of thousands of years. They revere it as somewhat of a superfood, but as far as like quality of fat, I put them neck and neck. Butter, ghee, and coconut oil. They're saturated fats, so they have to be you have to have some degree of moderation, because it's saturated fats that can raise your cholesterol. I know we think of all saturated fats as bad. I mean, remember back in the 90s, we thought all fats are bad. And when we went to this low-fat diet, everybody got fatter and cranky. And why everybody got fatter is because it's fats that really satiate your appetite and prevent you from overeating. An example would be 200 calories of avocado or nuts and seeds versus 200 calories of crackers or bread. Those 200 calories of nuts and seeds or avocado would satisfy your appetite way more. And remember that fat is fuel, the exact same as carbohydrates. Again, that's why people can subsist on low-carb diets and maybe even do better, like I do. So it's having sufficient amounts of fats where, again, you have way more flexibility than you would think. It's really quite hard to overdo them. And just having the right kind of fats. So there are two categories. I mentioned the saturated and then the unsaturated. And we need to talk a little bit about both of those. So unsaturated, just that means it's a liquid at room temperature, where saturated is a solid. So that would be like chocolate, cacao butter, palm oil, coconut oil, butter, animal lard. Those are all saturated, and there are different qualities in that realm too. But first, with the unsaturated, the quality stuff that the body does really well with, raw oils. So some of the best, I would say, olive oil, raw nuts and seeds. And where we got off track is that back in the 90s we were like, wow, you can now make oils for pennies, where butter and olive oil, those are expensive. Those are expensive oils, and we discovered, okay, canola, soybean, corn oil, pennies. And those oils, the way they're processed, and they're oxygen sensitive, they go rancid. They break down in a way where it produces somewhat of a free electron, and in your diet it irritates your thyroid. And the worst of those are fried foods, or foods that have those oils baked in them. Like those low-fat snack foods, those are the worst. While they're low-fat, it's just a bunch of starchy food, and the fat in there is just frying your thyroid. So it's fried food and all those low-grade rancid oils and all the baked products that are what basically irritate this. You irritate this, it sets off that whole ripple effect where metabolism goes down. So the key is to add more high-quality oils and fats to your diet, because again, it satiates your appetite. You're going to have fewer calories at the end of the day, just the law of human biology that fats satisfy, and that you got to go with the elite. I mean, you don't have to be hardcore. Hardcore is wear and tear on your psychological health. But definitely try to, the majority of your fats in your diet, stick with the elite. So salad dressing is a big one. All of the natural organic salad dressings are such junk. They're such junk. If you look at the ingredients, the first ingredient's always canola oil. What the heck is canola oil? That stuff is such crap. I mean, okay, here and there, not a big deal.
What is it? What is canola?
It's a grain. Canola. It's a grain. And it's, like corn. It's a little better than corn. But they're just cheap. They were replacements.
So an everyday oil at home
So that's the other half of it. This is why saturated fats play such an important role. They are heat stable. They don't break down under heat. So if you are going to fry anything, use either coconut or ghee, and it's more heat stable. If you bake anything, cooking eggs...
Well, I'm thinking more like eggs and sautéing things, and if you wanted to, vegetables...
Bake anything, yeah.
What do you recommend for that?
Coconut, ghee, or butter.
Okay.
Palm oil is kind of mediocre. Olive oil is very heat sensitive. It's an elite oil, and I know the Italians cook with it. Every body type is vastly different, but something tells me if they used coconut or ghee, they would be doing better. It's wear and tear in the body. Those are heat-sensitive oils, and they break down. Sure, it creates a flavorful food, but I don't know. I don't think you can beat the flavor of butter. You know.
Or the coconut oil.
True, coconut oil tastes amazing.
With the eggs today, right?
Now,
Yeah,
about
I like
coconut oil,
Yeah.
and with any saturated fat, even if it's a cholesterol-free food, all saturated fats can raise your cholesterol. That's why with saturated fats, you do need to just not be cautious, you know, but just exercise some degree of moderation. Now, is 1 to 3 tablespoons of saturated fat going to raise your cholesterol from macadamia nuts, butter, coconut, whatever it may be? No, I don't think so. Now, if you have heart disease and you're extremely, lethargic, thankfully nobody here is, then fine, cut them out. Hopefully just for a period. The thing that really suffers on a low-fat or a low-saturated fat diet is this. Your brain is made of saturated fat. That's why people also got cranky when we went to a low-fat diet. Also, you become malnourished because, remember, almost every nutrient is fat-soluble. That means you need fat present in your diet in order for a nutrient to be processed and absorbed by the body, where you can be getting massive amounts of, like, vitamin K, for example, but if you don't have fat present as a catalyst, it just passes right through. So, yeah.
What about, like, maybe someone asked this already, but what about when you make eggs in the morning using the vegetable spray? Like,
Those are crap. They really are. They're total junk. I know. See, that's the thing, is that we just became just
crap like
totally
it's going to hurt you, or
Yeah.
crap like it's okay?
It's wear and tear.
Yeah.
It's wear and tear because those spray oils are either soybean, corn, or canola oil, and they're rancid. I know it's just a minuscule amount that you're using. That's the advantage of spray. It says 0% of your daily fat.
Right.
It's a minuscule amount of fat, but it's rancid. It's like in all those low-fat
Yeah.
snack crackers. The same.
So you give us permission to make eggs with butter.
Perfect.
Love it.
Wow.
Or coconut oil. What's the best thing to make eggs in? Are you thinking? What's the best thing to make eggs in?
Ghee. Butter.
Well, he said butter, ghee, or coconut oil.
Yeah.
Don't eat eggs.
Don't eat eggs?
That's a piece of information. Sometimes I get it really off track. Sorry. Yeah. There comes moments where I just can't talk for like 10 seconds. Yeah. It's pretty cool, actually, because people will sometimes think, whoa, he's thinking really hard. Yeah. So that's what happened. I basically crushed my skull 14 years ago, and it caused this big scar in my brain, and so basically had no memory, and I also just started having seizures every day, and like full on, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't drive. I was basically just like handcuffed to my house. I couldn't do anything, and had to just live like the precision tune life protocol. I went full court press. I was having to take medication and surgery and all. I had to live this precision tune diet, ketogenic diet, and the right exercise because, it's not just nutrition. You got to get the nutrients in there, and then exercise is like pumping the handle to get it to everything. And so I am most grateful to say that my health is like 99%, where I would have seizures and fall over and break my shoulder. And now, if and when they happen, I am so focused on it that they come and I can control it. And the only downside is I can't talk for about 5 or 10 seconds.
So you
Not
just
all
had
bad, though.
You just had a seizure there.
Well, it's called an aura, because I
Uh-huh.
can stop it,
Right.
whoosh,
Okay.
rather than falling down on the floor. And so,
Do you feel it coming on?
Or does it just sort of happen?
Yeah, I get a 10-second heads
Okay.
up, so,
Okay.
sometimes if we're not talking, I might just be like, I'll be right back. Yeah,
Wow.
so, anyhow, now you know Billy inside and out. So back to butter. Butter is frickin' brilliant. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. I hope I didn't make you feel nervous.
No.
No,
Happens to
not
the
at
best
all.
of us. Again, see? It just wrangled in more interest, right? So it could be a good thing. Oftentimes people are like, what are you going to say? And it's like,
But they probably feel like they said something really dumb. Like he said it once, he's not repeating it again.
He told us butter.
Is that how you feel?
Okay. Right, so to answer your question, to
So
carry
the
on,
answer is not don't eat eggs.
I think eggs are a superfood.
Yeah, I remember you saying
I
that
got worried
before.
about that.
Eggs
I
are
love
freaking
eggs.
brilliant. They have been in the human diet all over the world for 100,000 years.
Love them.
And yes, they're high in cholesterol, but like the right fats, they don't raise your fat. Cholesterol from eggs does not affect your cholesterol at all. Zero, zilch. It's saturated fats that raise your cholesterol. Eggs, less than 1 gram of saturated fats. Again, I was on the ketogenic diet for 5 years.
What is a cat?
All fat,
Basically zero fat. Zero carb, 80% fat. So when your brain is running on fat, your body goes into a state of ketosis, and law of human biology, you just stop having seizures or it cuts back on them. And nobody knows why, but you can only do it for so long until you're a certain age, until it's just too much wear and tear on your body. So, but people lose weight that way. But I didn't do any exercise at all for a good chunk of that period, and it didn't affect my cholesterol at all. And I would have 6 or 7 eggs in a meal. So cholesterol in eggs does not affect the human body's cholesterol. Again, it's a saturated fat. That's why butter, ghee, coconut, macadamia nuts require some degree of moderation. Kids, the more the better because of this. It is growing so fast. That's why kids love whole dairy products. So whole dairy, less of it. Low-fat yogurt, low-fat milk, a freaking disaster. They shouldn't even call it
Why?
skim milk. They should call it lactose concentrate. Why is everybody becoming lactose sensitive? Right?
Yeah.
Because it's just lactose concentrate. Now people's bodies are just saying, enough. Can't do it anymore. No more.
So kids should have whole
Whole
milk.
milk?
Absolutely. And you should
pediatricians
too.
don't say that.
I know. And all doctor recommendation now is
Low fat.
low fat and a multivitamin. And they are absolute geniuses. Their expertise is diagnosis, trauma, and surgery, other emergencies. They do the diagnosis. The natural health experts, which I'm not claiming myself to be, more naturopathic doctors, they're the prognosis. They're the ones that know how the body really heals itself. So, doctors deal a lot with heart disease, but you got to remember that the majority of the fat in the average American's diet is low-grade stuff. And again, there was that whole buzz, that whole spell where people said in the 90s, and even now still, that all fat makes you fat. Again, it's a spell still needing to be broken. And it is. There are definitely many people aware of it, but still, it's just, it got us.
Well, it's part of it
So
because the calories are more dense in fat, and people thought, if we use less fat, you have less calories going in. Is that
Right.
where it came from in the 90s, or is it?
Well, again, see, we found that you can just do all of these cheap oils as a replacement for the expensive oils. These cheap oils that are rancid. And so it is true that everybody all of a sudden started gaining weight, and it was because of these cheaper oils that are rancid, that are irritating your thyroid, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. Again, you irritate this, and metabolism goes down. That's why we need to stick with the elite, raw, unsaturated fats. And then, again, if you do fried food, baked food, whatever it may be, you cook your eggs, Saturated fats, they're heat stable. They don't break down under heat. That's why you want to cook with either ghee, butter, or coconut oil. Does that make sense? I know I'm repeating myself, but I know it's somewhat of new information. So.
You said salad dressing. You know, don't
Yeah.
have it. What do you make here? There's a cookbook or something.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna assume so.
Salad dressing is the easiest thing. I talked about soups. I make a big pot for myself. I also make salad dressings where, I'll tell you, you don't even have to make salad dressing. One of the best salad dressings that I never get tired of is just tons of olive oil, just as much as you like. It's one of those foods where it's really hard to overdo it. It really is. That's why, when people think I gotta sustain on salad, it's depressing because, it's not fatty. They're not satisfying. You're just getting a bunch of the greens and the vegetables are good, but that you also need the fats for this. And
this dressing was delicious today.
Right, and so I know I keep circumnavigating your question, but so olive oil, lemon juice, cayenne, and sea salt, frickin' amazing. And then you can sprinkle some flaxseed powder in there, and then put it in some kind of container and shake it up. And that flaxseed powder is like a thickener, and then the olive oil and the lemon juice actually sticks to all the vegetables, and it just becomes so nice. Yeah. Yeah, so nice. Or it doesn't have to be flaxseed powder. You can also do, what's it called? I'll think of brewer's yeast. Yes, brewer's yeast is fantastic. Great salad dressing sort of thickener. Is that on your website? Makes it, sort of hearty. I have some salad dressings on my website. That's sort of just the simplest one that I often do, but you can definitely, it doesn't matter. I'll put probably, okay, a few glugs of olive oil, probably like an equivalent of at least 3 tablespoons, and I just squeeze an entire lemon in there. And then salt it as much as you like. Cayenne just gives it that kick. Cayenne and lemon do really well together. Better than you would think. It's really quite nice. So we do that in your salad here, but then there are also some salads we do in the blender. We just put some fresh ginger in there with olive oil and or carrot juice. Those are a little more time consuming. Yeah.
And how about gluten?
Right. So gluten is grain protein, and it's in many grains. Oats, rye, spelt. Now wheat is the highest. Wheat is the highest, and here's what happened is that so much of our diet now is just inexpensive wheat products. Where, sure, bread has been in our diet for quite some time, but nowhere near the degree it is now, with all the pasta on top of that and just all the baked goods. You guys are better about it. The majority of Americans just have so much processed flour, it's ridiculous. And it's just like gluten concentrate. Now, gluten, that grain protein, is a little hard for the body to digest, but, a moderate amount and a little bit of bread or rye or oats, fine. That ain't going to hurt you. But when you're constantly drinking that, or eating that gluten concentrate, your body's eventually just like, enough. It's like the lactose sensitivity thing. And so, okay, have a moderate amount of bread, but we got to cut out this exorbitant amount of, baked stuff. And also, there's just a sprinkling of wheat flour and everything. Soups, salad dressings even, they use it as an inexpensive thickener. And, yeah, even though it's just a trickle, it's just that constant trickle in our diet, where you're just not giving your digestion a break. You're not giving your gastrointestinal system just a little recuperation time. So I put lactose and gluten kind of in a similar category in that respect. So just the whole food and less of it. The whole dairy, less of it. Again, remember, it's the fat in the dairy that satisfies, so you don't have to eat like a giant thing of yogurt, a few tablespoons, and you're like, dang, that was great, it's satisfying. So,
do you think we should eat dairy at this age, since we're older?
Again, you have more flexibility with the quantity of fat in your diet than you would think. Now, with butter, again, it's a concentrate of saturated fat, so it requires some degree of moderation, but, you're not old people. You know, if you're really old and you are at risk of heart disease, fine. But
like milk and yogurt.
no, it's absolutely fine. Now there is a bit of debate about it, and for some people, their body just doesn't do well with any dairy. And dairy has only been a select number of diets around the world, but in some of them, like India, they revere it as like a superfood. They consider it to be freaking essential for their health. Like they would be, suffering without it. And on the other hand, some people just don't do so well with it, and that's okay. You know, that's okay, but again, I know many people have become sensitive just because of too much processed dairy.
What are your thoughts on chia seeds?
Chia seeds are an awesome food. They're loaded in calcium, and they're good for your gastrointestinal system. And chia seeds. Yeah, you're getting some here. They're in your morning green drink, just a little bit. Yeah, but it's definitely one of those foods where it's like the more the better. You can sprinkle them in a salad. They, you heard of chia pets. They're similar to flax seeds, but smaller.
Swell. Do you do anything with them?
Yes.
Use them when
Good call. So flax seeds, chia seeds, if they're in your diet regularly, it's good to soak them overnight. And it's easy. You just put like a tablespoon of it or however much you want in a glass, and then just put a little bit of water in there. And it'll soak all that water up in just minutes. And then it swells up to like triple the size. And it becomes a little slimy. But what you can do is then just dump that into a smoothie or dump it on your salad and just kind of mix it all in there. It just becomes much more digestible that when they're just in their dry form, they don't really break down that well. A lot of it just kind of passes through. But
so flaxseed powders, or ground flaxseed, did you do that with that too, or because it's organic,
no,
because it's ground?
It's a powder. It's gonna digest easily. So. To say whether it's a good product or not, the thing is flax seeds are extremely oxygen sensitive, and if it's been ground down to a powder, it needs to be stored in some kind of glass container. Like if you shop in your natural food section, it's probably going to be in a plastic bag. And plastic does leach oxygen, and I mean if you put something in a plastic bag and it's just there for like a few weeks or a month, not a big deal, but I mean some of these dry goods have been sitting in warehouses for months. So, flax seeds.
Can you like grind your own?
Yes, that's
and
the
store
ticket
it?
right there. Is you can use a coffee grinder and it blends up into a powder like that. So that's what I would do actually. If you have a little coffee grinder, grind up your month's supply. Just grind up a few batches, put it in a Ziploc bag, and stash it in your fridge, and then every day when you have your salad, a big heaping tablespoon of that and just stir it all in. Again, it just makes your salad, it's a thickener and it makes it really hearty and nice. It's more satisfying.
Put it in water before.
Not if you're grinding it down to a powder. I would say go one or the other. One or the other. I mean, if you try to grind it down afterwards, it would just turn into goo. So, but you can put it in a smoothie. Either way, you can put it in a smoothie. But
Speaking of smoothies, so in the morning, I make this smoothie for myself, and I just put in coconut water, frozen berries, and then this is now my question. There's so many proteins on the market,
okay.
so I grabbed, I have this brand I used to buy because somebody said, you should take this one. But if I want to have a protein shake in the morning, do you recommend not using those proteins that you get, like the whey proteins and stuff that you get at like Whole Foods?
Use Billy's.
What do you?
Well, processed soup, ultra-processed dairy, whether it's lactose concentrate or whey, I'm just not a huge fan.
Right.
Protein from dairy, it's harder for the body to digest. It is. Plant protein is always great. And having some animal protein in your diet is perfectly fine. But, yeah, it's okay. Whey protein can be a little constipating.
But you have something, like, I missed the first part.
We use, I'm definitely not bragging, but we do use my protein formula a little bit in your morning drink. Just a little extra shot of protein.
So you have a protein formula.
It's sprouted plant foods, just all high protein plant foods that have been sprouted and then ground into a powder, and then it's in a glass bottle.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so I believe in having some kind of protein supplement if you want to cut back on animal protein. A substantial amount of animal protein has been in the human diet all over the world, every culture virtually. And the interesting thing is that actually, if you have a little less in your diet and more plant foods, even though the body adapted to more animal protein, a little less is better, really. I mean, again, every body type is different. I mean, look at Eskimos. They subsist on whale blubber, and they live a long time. But
I just have these shakes because they're easy and they taste good. So I don't know what.
well,
what
and
the
I think
berries
it's
and the
also your
walnuts
body's
and-
instincts. The body likes smoothies in the morning.
Yeah.
For a few reasons. It's liquid, it's easy to digest, your gastrointestinal system's just getting going. That's why you get out of bed and you're not hungry right away. People like hot drinks and smoothies too. You're getting hydration and you're getting natural sugar. That's a big one. That in the morning, you like fruit because it's instant brain fuel. Fruit doesn't take any time to break down. Boom, instant glucose. Where carbs, fats, that takes a little bit to be converted into energy. So, fruit in your smoothie, and you're keeping your sweet tooth happy. People don't know that we all have a sweet tooth. It's a law of human biology. And if you don't keep it happy with regular fruit, if and when you're at a dinner party or, if you're at the grocery store, you're going to be way more akin to get some, sugary junk food. Because your body wants sugar. So the thing to do is to keep it happy with the elite sugar, which, again, the elite sugar is fruit. The elite fruit is berries. So berries in your smoothie in the morning, you're getting your natural sugar, your hydration, and get some protein fats in there. That's the brilliant thing about a smoothie is you can make it like this well-rounded meal. Put some yogurt in there, some raw almond butter. Now we're talking. That's a meal, where if you just have fruit by itself, you're going to be hungry 10 minutes later. And actually, that's another key to keeping your sweet tooth happy and sustaining it, is to have natural sugars with protein fats, like yogurt. That's why people like nuts and dried fruit, or yogurt and honey, or banana splits. So that's getting away from us a little bit. Berries and yogurt, or apples and almond butter, or banana and peanut butter. That's sort of lower at the totem pole, but you get my idea. And that it's the protein fats that really satiate your appetite, that keep you sustained. So the sugar satisfies your sweet tooth. The protein fats sustain.
So in
So-
the smoothie, what's the protein fat?
So I like to put yogurt and/or almond butter,
Okay.
one or the other. That's your protein fat. That's what makes it a really hearty, sustaining meal. Otherwise, if it's just a bunch of fruit and ice, you're going to be hungry in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I put the nutrient support in there. The greens that you're drinking here in the morning, I put a whole bunch of that in my smoothie. So you're getting the whole balance. You're getting your nutritive support, hydration, sugar, protein, fats. It's like this meal now. Easy to digest because it's liquid. So that's how I start my morning. I drink a hot drink. I have my homemade chai recipe, and then I drink a smoothie, and then I'm a fan of smaller, more frequent meals that kind of keep you sustained. Definitely not the trickle of snacking, but rather than 3 meals, some people just do 2 meals a day, and this does this to your energy. And 3 meals works, and it's just kind of what fits into the lifestyle protocol here. Otherwise, you would have more meals. But we do, you have a little meal out there on the trail. You have a little snack this afternoon. So you have a couple other meals. They're small, but the advantage of that is your body does better with just smaller meals and more frequent, because it takes some work to break down a big meal. That's why when you eat a lot of food, you're tired afterwards. Does that make sense? So, smoothie in the morning, I like 4 or 5 meals a day. After a few hours after that, I have eggs cooked in butter. I have whole rye bread, like real rye. It's like German bread where it feels like a brick. All that rye bread in the regular bread section is just rye flavor. it's wheat bread. It's total junk. And then I have in the afternoon. That's like my salads. Afternoon is salads where I have just a massive amount of greens. And you don't always want salad. You don't necessarily have to eat salad, but at the very least, just eat a big handful of greens. You don't need to put salad dressing on it. It doesn't taste bad. You know, just have a bunch of spinach or kale or arugula. It doesn't taste bad. But it's really important to have some kind of green food.
And that you can eat just a lot.
Yeah, the more the better. The more green food, whatever shape or form, the better.
What do you think of the green juice craze?
Well, again, it's chlorophyll. Whatever green food it may be, whether it's green food, green smoothies, kale, arugula, chard, spinach, basil, parsley, cilantro, whatever it may be. It's one of those foods where the more the better. Again, it has the nutritive support, but the most important role greens play is pulling funk out of the body, detox. You're taking that subtle burden off of all of these sensitive things. Everything works better when you take that burden off. People forget the whole big picture. We're just all driven to put the nutritive stuff in, the right amount of calories, the right nutrients. That's only half of it. The other half of our diet needs to be about pulling toxic funk out, like we talked about earlier. Not only does that unlock your life force, but it makes all of this available fuel. We talked about the whole biology of that earlier for those of you who came out just and weren't here for the first bit, and you'll catch that in the recorded part. But I know I'm repeating myself. I just want to make sure you guys really get this info.
You know, in New York we have a lot of these juice bars.
Yeah.
And I got one in my building. It's delicious, and they just make these green juices.
Awesome.
Right? So that's
Awesome.
as good as eating a bunch of, green. So you take the same greens that's been pressed down to juice. It's the same as eating it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get a little more nutritive value. I mean, they play different roles. The advantage of juice is you're getting all that chlorophyll and some nutritive support, and doesn't take any digestion at all. You're giving a digestive system a break. Where, I mean, personally, I like to just eat the whole food. Where kale, like the coarser leafy greens, can be a little hard to digest. You have to really chew them up. And if you don't, you're going to be a little gassy. But I'll tell you, here's the secret. Remember how I was talking about throwing raw veggies in the blender? Tonight, you have this raw spinach sauce, where we're just throwing a whole bunch of raw greens into the blender with lemon juice and olive oil, and it blends it like puree, totally smooth. I mean, it takes a high-power blender. But now it's super easy to digest. You're not having to just chew up a bunch of greens, and you're getting the full plant food. Where with juice, I mean, you're not getting the fiber, and you're losing some of the nutritive value, a little bit. So, I mean, greens are more than just juice. You definitely need to be eating them, whether you're blending them into a raw soup or a salad dressing, or like the spinach sauce you have tonight, or eating it as a salad.
And how do you compare a green juice like that, like fresh, with the fresh, greens versus your green powder?
Well, they're just different foods. So what makes my green stuff green is blue-green algae. And why it's so dark green is blue-green algae is what just has the most chlorophyll. It's a massive amount of chlorophyll. And I'm a real believer in blue-green algae. It's been in the human diet all over the world since the beginning, kind of except for the last 100 years. And it's a food. There are literally thousands of different kinds of algae, many of which are toxic, many of which are medicinal, nutritive. It's interesting to think about. Algae kind of does a similar thing for the planet. It was the first life on Earth 2 billion years ago, and it was sort of a portal, a gateway for all of the life, because it basically just soaked up toxic water from acid rain and volcanoes and recycled it into oxygen. It built our atmosphere. Still today, blue-green algae, it builds 60% of our atmosphere. 60%. All the trees, everything, crucial. Algae, 60%. And so, yeah.
It's different. They're very different. Like a green juice from fresh greens than yours. Like totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different food. I mean, a green
Yeah.
juice is going to be
What you can
juiced
have in a
kale,
salad.
whatever it may be, spinach, wheatgrass, and blue-green algae is just a whole food. So, again, I'm not here to brag about my stuff. So, wheatgrass, though, wheatgrass is in a little bit different of a category. Wheatgrass has only been in the human diet for a little while. You know, it was back in the 70s where it's like, whoa, greens for pennies, where other greens, they can be expensive, you know? And so the catch is they're irritating to the gut. That's why, I mean, they taste bad. That's why when people have wheatgrass shots, they're like, oh boy, here it goes. And people can feel a little queasy afterwards. It's hard to digest. Sure, it has some major nutritive value in chlorophyll, but it's not perfect. There's some compromise. So, yeah.
So we were at your lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
What? Oh,
We were
okay,
at your lunch.
okay. So
So
that's when I have big salads, and I just mash up a bunch of greens. I squeeze them all up, and tons of olive oil, lemon juice, chop a bunch of avocado, sprinkle some nuts and seeds in there, and maybe some cheese, some kind of sustainable some protein fat that satisfies and sustains you. And then I have something in the afternoon. I like to have some natural sugar in the afternoon, whether it's an apple and raw almond butter, or berries and yogurt, something of that nature. And then dinner, I have my soups. And I mean, it's a meal. It's really hearty and sustaining, because I mean, I'll have a soup where it has like, you know, a couple tablespoons of butter in there. You know, that's my main source of fuel. Not butter, but fats, healthy fats. So, just a quick little recap. We picked up where I left off with lunch. So, middle of the day, big salads, which the body does well on salads middle of the day, because that's when your gastrointestinal fire is most akin to break those coarse vegetables up. You know, I mean, that's cellulose that gives plant foods some rigidity, so that out in nature they just don't flop over in the dirt. And that's why you have to really chew them up. And that's why juices can be better sometimes when you want to give your digestion a break, or blending them up. That's the advantage. So, and also middle of the day foods, you want it to be more cooling because it's warmer out. And then I was talking about having natural sugar in the afternoon, so it's somewhat regular. You know, protein. You could have another smoothie, another protein drink, like you do, or yogurt, berries, apple, almond butter. I just like to keep everybody up to speed here. When somebody leaves and then they come back, I don't want to feel like I left them hanging.
What do you do if you go out to a restaurant?
I eat whatever. To heck with it. You know, I used to be hardcore, and I don't know, has wear and tear on your relationships. So.
What about right after? I have big workouts at lunch.
Yeah.
What do you do right after a big workout?
I like to take a massive amount of protein. My body requires a lot of protein, and I do well with animal protein, in that I don't just become a beanpole, but it makes me a little tired, and so I've gone back and forth. I've eaten extreme amounts of like the best quality animal protein, like elk and bison, exclusively. But then I go back to a vegetarian diet, and I do way better. Just my health and vitality in general. You know, I never get sick. I always feel like I have more energy. My digestion works better. But then I do have to supplement with more plant proteins. And so after a workout, you know,
because you're Midtown New York, and you're limited options, and you want to try this. What do you know? And I'm usually going to get the chicken breast over whatever greens.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. So right after a workout, two things. Right after a workout, people often don't have an appetite. You may even feel a little queasy. So I just drink a massive amount of protein, and then maybe an hour later I have a meal. It is good to have protein right after. I mean, you're doing some load-bearing exercise is all about just incurring some wear and tear, so that your body's like, whoa, this person's living the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. We need to build some more sturdy material there. So that's really good. You don't necessarily have to have protein right after you work out. I mean, but I think it's better. I do. For me, it's better. But with animal protein, if you have animal protein in your diet, for most people, it's better to save it till the end of the day. Again, protein ain't fuel. It's restorative. Your body is doing the most restoration when you're sleeping. And protein, pretty much all protein, except for plant proteins, make you a little sleepy. Remember how I said whey can make you a little tired? So dairy protein and animal protein, those take work. for your body to break down. They can make you tired. People who have
So
the
you
chicken.
have those at the end of the day?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
people have their chicken salad in the middle of the day, I'm always like, oh dang, that's why you're tired at 4 o'clock and you have to have coffee.
What do you think about glutamine?
What?
Glutamine?
Glutamine, I don't know. You know, I'm no, that's out of my area of expertise. I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't say. So,
Trey, have you seen those Just Salad places
Yeah.
in New York?
Yeah.
I mean, they have, I love those.
Yeah.
And they have every kind of topping
Yeah.
imaginable.
yeah. Cool. Just take a little,
Yeah, no, I do those. I do those at one right across the street from my
to make it a more sustainable meal, just have a little bottle of olive oil in your
Probably
stash.
avocado.
the
Avocado.
salad dressing.
But they have
Yeah.
olive oil.
I know, but I wanted to know how to make this. Because this
Dude,
I don't
you
know if
could
you had it
to-
today,
Yeah,
but
it was amazing.
it's not like just like pouring olive oil.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, oils, salad dressings are the easiest thing to make. You just make your week supply in the blender, and you're good to go. Just throw whatever you want in there, whatever oils, whatever herbs, spices, fruit juice, or vegetable juice, blend it up.
Some don't even
Stash
really
it.
have to be refrigerated.
Right.
Like, you can keep it not in the fridge.
Yeah, because when you do refrigerate olive oil, like a salad dressing, it turns to a solid. That's the advantage of canola oil, is it doesn't. But it has the wear and tear on your health. So, now with animal protein, again, been in the human diet forever. Many people do great with it. The other side of it is, it's just in the last 70, 80 years that now you can go like without it entirely just because we have every plant food available year-round. We're very lucky, really. It has its advantages and some disadvantages, but you know, just the grains we have, the plant foods we have, and protein supplements if you feel you need them, it works. It does. But again, if you have animal protein in your diet, go with the ultra elite and save it for the end of the day. And with animal protein, it is a good idea to go leaner. Most of the time.
Speaking
I mean,
of leaner in the fishes now, I mean, I don't know what's
that's a tough
what's
one, man.
right to
I
eat,
know.
what's not, right?
It's a tough one, dude. It really is, because with fish, wild caught is way more nutritive and less toxic. Farm raised fish, it's the regulation by the FDA is totally insufficient, and like they call it Atlantic salmon, even at Whole Foods, that is farm raised salmon, and they have to add food coloring. Hi, we are
Okay,
goofing.
we give you at least 10 more minutes.
We
it's
are-
not 15.
We are goofing off and just having the
Good.
greatest time.
Keep on going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were gonna finish our class in the hot tub.
Whenever.
Okay.
So, what was I talking about? Fish. Okay, so Atlantic salmon, that's just a kind of salmon, and if it's from the ocean, it has to say wild caught, and it's better, it's way better, but then the other catch is, you know, the oceans just ain't the same level of purity. You know, mercury and other toxins, it does accumulate in fish. So, the ultra pure proteins, I would say, are going to just be, you know, organic chicken, beef. My preference is elk and bison, and preferably lean, because animal lard's a different category of saturated fat. It's different from butter and coconut oil. It's more akin to raise your cholesterol, and is a little bit going to hurt you, no. You know, have a burger here and there, but if you have animal protein in your diet every day, go for the lean stuff. Lean stuff and just the better quality and less of it.
So you'd say that's better like organic chicken than fish?
Again, it's a tough one. Okay, so you know what? Here's the exception. I'm glad you asked. Freshwater fish. Wild-caught freshwater fish. You can't beat that. Depending on where it comes from. And assuming they're not bottom feeders. So, I know, it's a tough one. There's just no
Put in
perfect...
there, trout, obviously.
Yeah?
And then what else can we? I don't.
Well, salmon half the time is.
What other freshwater non-bottom feeders are there?
Bass?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't get. Yeah. Okay. We don't get that.
Yeah, salmon. There's freshwater salmon.
There's a lot of bass. Sea
Is
bass.
there?
Sea bass.
Sea bass, but that's not freshwater.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, sea bass.
Trout.
If you weren't having saturated fats, would you be able to digest and metabolize a straight vegetarian diet or no? Or do you need those saturated fats in order to...
Okay, so your question is, pitch it at me one more time.
Could you eat, you specifically I'm asking, a purely vegetarian diet without the saturated fats? Could you digest it normally?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I have saturated fats and butter and raw nuts and seeds, but
Maybe you
Right.
without it.
Without it.
Ooh.
Could you
I mean,
digest it without it?
I personally would not do very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, sure,
But
absolutely.
is that the key, though, to being able to digest a straight vegetarian diet? Because, see, I guess the reason why I'm asking is because I would love to be eating this food. That's what I crave, that's what I want.
Uh-huh.
But I can't. You know, I'm here, and it's like my bowel is crazy.
Uh-huh.
You know, and
Yeah.
at home...
It's a big shift in your diet. It's a big shift, it
and
is.
So at home, because I don't really crave the sort of animal proteins and fats, I get into trouble, literally, and have sort of my whole life. But, so, I wish that I could eat like this, and I could, but it's so hard for me with the saturated fats because it's not enough.
Oh, okay, you're
Yeah.
saying,
Probably what most people are experiencing.
I'm sorry, I'm still a little confused. You're saying you want more saturated fats or you want
really don't.
no saturated
No, I
fats
really
in your
don't.
diet? Uh-huh.
But he wants to be able to just live
I
on
wish I
these
could just
foods.
eat this. And
Right.
the only reason why I can
Why don't
actually
you want
function-
saturated fats? You're saying that you don't do well with them?
No, I do. I mean, I do okay with them. I do okay, but it's like you were sitting next to me, and you're like, "Oh, do you not?" Or no, it was Adam. He was like, "Oh, do you not like the whatever she made, the thing in the middle?" Because
The
I've
hummus.
yeah, the
The raw
hummus. I
hummus.
was going around the sides because that's what I prefer.
Yeah.
But I know that I have to eat the saturated fat in order to digest it. But even here, it's not enough saturated fat to be able to digest the just straight vegetarian.
Okay, but you're saying in your normal life you want more saturated fat
No,
than
I
you would
want
want
more
here.
greens. I want more greens.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm,
like I
I'm
wish
slowly
I could,
catching on.
and I wish I could eat your bars. You know, but like I eat the bar,
Right,
and I can't make it 3 blocks.
right.
But it's just it's a strange thing
Mhm.
because I do believe that the vegetarian diet is actually healthier and cleaner.
Uh-huh,
But
so,
I can't do it.
uh-huh. You have animal protein in your diet. It's probably a good thing for you.
Yeah, I know it probably
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, for many people, they have animal protein in their diet, and it does make more solid bowel movements. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It kind of does for me, too, actually. Dude, having animal protein in your diet, for many people, it's their body type. They got to
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah.
So, I think you're fine. I mean, just more plant foods, and I'll tell you, for your situation, you're going to be doing better with, like, hearty soups and stews.
Yeah, no, that's...
Not so many salads for you.
No, I know, but it's...
How did you like last night's soup?
I was like, oh my god, why aren't we having what we had the other 2 meals in this meal? I didn't love it.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, it was okay. It was good, but I mean, you
So
know,
what are some of your favorite things you've had here so far? Hi.
everything except the soup.
Oh.
Everything except the soup. And I want to have the greens, the juice in the morning so badly.
Mm.
I want that green juice, but
But you can't, you won't have it. So you're not
I mean, we'd be dying on the way in the oven. I just can't put people through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strange thing.
Uh-huh. Sure. Sure.
But so you could do just the straight green vegetarian diet without the saturated fat. I'm just trying to understand if a body can actually
Sure.
do that. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, you
With
know,
normal
you would...
stool or no?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Every body type is so vastly
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Is Noreen out here? No?
She was here.
I don't know. We would have to talk a little more.
Yeah. No.
You know, it's a tricky one. You know, I mean, I'm not charging you or anything, but I just need to know more of what your diet is.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't have a great diet because I just want to eat greens, but I have to eat other things.
Right.
It's mixed up. Yeah.
And again, your body doesn't like soups so much.
No, it does.
You just didn't like this one so much. That's okay. You know, they make it a little different
Yeah.
every week.
No,
I
I
have a
do
feeling
like-
if
I
I
do-
made it, you would have liked it a
Yeah.
lot more.
That was good.
So, but
Was that
my
your soup? That
Yeah.
was your recipe?
Yeah, I mean, but they make it different. I'm sure I would make it a lot better. So I make it
What would you
really
do?
thick and a lot of butter.
More
Yeah,
coconut? Would you put
No,
more
we
coconut?
put ghee in it.
Oh, you put ghee in it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
which butter and ghee are virtually the same thing.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah,
say
but-
that this is a vegan menu.
No. I mean, it's
The
We had
vegetarian
eggs.
stuff.
it's
Yeah.
it's vegan. It's vegan friendly. How about that? You know, ghee is sort of the exception. It's a
Ghee's
marvelous food. It really is. Butter, ghee, they're marvelous foods. It's a big, just hypnotic spell disaster back in the 90s. Convinced everybody otherwise. But my instinct tells me, so you don't eat too many green salads and things of that nature at home. I can understand why. See, I think making really hearty soups and stews for you and animal protein is the
No,
ticket.
that's what works. And doing
Yeah.
that, and doing the bone broth as the base to the soup.
Yeah,
Like the 48 hours.
yeah, sure,
And then that's what does it. That's how I really survive.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
but when
I
I'm
don't know, it
here,
sounds
I'm
to
so
me like you're
happy
doing the
because
right thing.
yeah, no, I am in the
But
end.
you're
it's
eating
the-
salads here. I saw you
Yeah.
chowing down your neighbor's
and-
salad.
and- yeah, exactly.
So how's that going? Is
Thank
it
God
working?
you have many bathrooms.
What?
Thank God you have many bathrooms.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
that's great. What? So, see, I'm thinking that also just like for the raw greens that you do. I mean, have you ever had like just raw juices?
Yeah, but I can't.
You don't do juices, dude. Man, I mean, look, the Eskimos, they hardly eat any green living things. They have like 2 months
Yeah.
of eating green herbs, and otherwise they eat mussels and
Exactly.
whale.
Yeah.
Dude, I think you're fine. Your
Yeah,
body's
no,
instincts
I
are
am,
right
but
on
I
track.
just wish I could enjoy things that I really like more.
Right.
Yeah, and not worry about where the next bathroom is.
Just make sure that when you have these meals, you're at home.
Believe me, I do.
What vegetable has the most protein? What are the high protein vegetables? Or the green things, I should say.
Well, of course, raw nuts and seeds. Quinoa, as far as the grain goes, has a moderate amount.
Moderate
Edamame has some moderate amount. Quinoa.
Oh, I eat too much. Why moderate?
Well, it has some protein. It's not a high protein food, but we're just talking
but
about.
in general, it's a good thing.
Yeah, we're just talking about vegetarian proteins, right? Edamame, tempeh, tofu, soy products. They require some degree of moderation because too many processed soy products can throw off your estrogen balance a little
So
bit.
you think women should have soy?
No, not regular soy. Now, stuff like edamame, tempeh, a little tofu, those have been in the human diet forever. It's kind of like gluten and lactose, where it's this constant trickle of soy in our diet from so many processed soy products. Soy protein isolate is just in all of the processed foods now as like a thickener. It makes it kind of meaty and hearty, and all the soy milk and soy cheese and soy this, that, and the other, you know? Because we thought about it as like a healthy sort of dairy alternative, but too much of it ain't right. But go with the stuff that's less processed, that's been in the human diet for a long time. Now we're talking. Edamame is a whole food, and it's high in protein. Tempeh, it's just the soybeans, the edamame fermented in its whole form. So having that here and there is not going to hurt you. It's fine. Nuts and seeds, though, excellent source of protein, and hemp seeds particularly.
What about chia?
Chia seeds, awesome. They're totally loaded in nutrients, super high source of calcium.
Talk about sprouts and sprouting.
So that's a really good call, actually. That nuts and seeds become way more digestible when you soak them in water. So, like almonds, you have a handful of almonds, and after a few, it's kind of like eating sawdust, right? You're just kind of like, come on, water, please. And so when you soak them in water overnight, like 8 hours, they swell up to like double their size. And they actually become a way more digestible food. If you have a handful of almonds that you've soaked, you're going to be like, oh man, I could eat a whole handful of these. And when they're out in nature, they are like dried up so that when they drop off a plant, they can sit in the dirt for months without insects and bacteria eating them up. And so, they also have natural preservatives. So that in the spring, when the rain comes, it soaks up all that water and releases those natural preservatives into the dirt around itself, so it has a chance to sprout and grow again without bacteria eating the plant. And so when you soak it overnight, it goes through that same process, and it actually becomes a much more digestible and protein bioavailable food. So that's totally the way to roll with nuts and seeds. Of
the almonds
like,
that you sell?
yeah, they're sprouted. So again, not bragging about my stuff, but I soak these almonds in water, and then they go in a dehydrator, so it dries them out, and they become crisp and crunchy. And it's just it's a different thing because they've gone through the sprouting process, and it's just a more digestible food. You can do it at home, but unless you have a dehydrator, you can't make them crisp and crunchy, you know. But you can soak them and then put them in your oatmeal, or just eat them straight.
So that would be a better thing to put in your
Sir
smoothie.
Patrick,
Yeah.
Le Chateau.
Okay, thank you.
If you're not putting the butter in, or you could just soak them and then throw them in.
Soaked
they
almonds,
would
you
not
can't
be that
beat it.
crunchy. I don't like the texture of them in there.
Well, you know, when you blend some raw soaked almonds in there, it'll be a little sort of like a little bit like there's some sawdust in there, but it'll be better. It'll be better. You need a really, you know, if you're doing smoothies regularly in your lifestyle and your diet, you need a good industrial power blender. Like here we have a Vitamix. Those are such great blenders. They really are a very worthy investment. You know, for making all kinds of soups, sauces, pestos, dips, dressings. You just throw anything in there you want. You can even make almond butter with it. They're great, great kitchen tool. Good high power blender. You just can't do that. The same kind of smoothies and recipes we're talking about, like your kind of typical household blender.
Can you sprout lentils?
Yeah, actually you can, and it makes them way more digestible. So before you cook your beans or lentils or really any grain, actually, even quinoa, put it in the pot of water and let it sit there for at least a few hours or overnight, and you're going to see it swells up. And it becomes, once you cook it, still it's yet a little more digestible of a food.
And it's more digestible. Do you think it's more digestible if you change the water, or what?
That is even better, particularly with beans.
To change
Not
the
such a big deal with you know, quinoa and yeah, but with lentils and beans, it's good if you can pour it through a strainer and then add more water.
Because
Well, I mean, it kind of just it's not going to be gassy. It'll be less gassy, you know, because again, beans, nuts, seeds, they have natural preservatives in them, you know, just plant biology, so that they don't get eaten up out in nature. And so then those preservatives are just kind of sitting in the pot of water. So you strain it, refill it,
do you
and
rinse
it's.
them and then?
I mean, that's what people say to do. You know, I'm a little lazy. But I also don't really cook too many grains. You know, if I'm low on groceries and I don't feel like going to the store, I'll cook some quinoa. So, but I don't eat too many grains.
You said something about vitamin C bars, or
Mm-hmm.
why would you have vitamin C bars?
Well, there ain't no other vitamin C bar. I think it's somewhat of a brilliant idea. So yeah, that's it. So you guys have my vitamin C formula in the tea cabinet, so it's just a serving of that in the bar. So yeah, it's just a serving of vitamin C.
You mentioned berries as being very good, like the king of the fruit or something like that.
Yeah, it's the elite sugar. It's the elite of the elite. You know, they're lower in sugar concentration. They're lower glycemic, which means, you know, blood sugar doesn't go up and then down. Like bananas and tropical fruits, pineapple, mango, they're what's considered higher glycemic, where
Just
blood
a
sugar
heads
can
up.
do this. Yeah, that's okay.
Full class is going to be in 1 minute.
We're
so
done.
just so you all
We're
know.
done. Yeah, that's okay
Thanks,
though.
Billy. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I recorded. We went for
Can I get
an
this
hour and a
sent
half.
to my
We were here for an hour and a half.
Can you believe it?
Wow.
So at the end of the week, the ashram.
in your database.
But why don't we finish with the fruits?
Yeah. Okay. So.
And all the berries, cherries too.
Oh, cherries is very high glycemic.
Yeah. Okay. No, there are some exceptions. I mean, even strawberries are.
Strawberries and
Raspberries, blueberries.
I didn't even know you been here.
But the reason I'm more akin to berries is also just the nutritive value. you know, the antioxidant value. Now, high glycemic fruit also can play a role as like a natural sweetener. Don't eat it by itself. Have it with protein fat, like again almond butter or yogurt or nuts and seeds. That protein fat makes it a more sustained, and it's a stabilizer. So again, when you have it with something, it's not doing this. It's, yes, we were talking about banana splits earlier too. Well, it was a joke. Sorry to disappoint.
And you eat all organic?
I'm pretty hardcore about it, not super hardcore. Yeah.
Any
The
animal
stuff that
protein?
I've gone back and forth, and I seem to do better with no animal protein. Just as far as general energy and vitality, and I never get sick. But I do get too thin, so I really do have to supplement with some protein powder. So, but I also do well with animal protein. You know, I'm able to maintain more mass.
What kind of animal protein?
I stick
I'm
with
sorry, not, what kind of protein powder?
it's like a sprouted brown rice and hemp, you know, and some plant proteins in there, some milk thistle and chia seed. Yeah, not bragging about my stuff, but it's in your morning green drink. I swear I did not come to brag about my stuff today.
No, if it's a good
But-
product, then you should.
When did you start your? I'm not.
7 years, 8 years.
Does it sell in New York?
Yeah.
Website.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
in
in-
a sprinkling of
is it in
stores
stores?
around the country. Yeah, not Whole Foods yet.
I'm sorry, I don't even know the name of your product.
Oh,
But you just
Infinity
ordered,
Infinity Greens. That's the main formula that you have in your green drink in the morning. It's a blend of algae and herbs.
So, okay.
And then I have my vitamin C formula, and it's a blend of berry extracts. And then my protein formula, and then you had my bars and almonds. And
Where do you grow your foods?
I don't grow any of them.
Okay.
Basically, I've searched who grows the best spirulina, who grows the best almonds, who grows the best one ingredient, where that one ingredient
Okay.
is their specialty. They're the ones that have mastered it. So I buy mass volumes from them, and then I mix them, and then then they're bottled, sealed,
Here
labeled.
and around here.
They're done here locally.
Yeah.
I don't mix them myself. I searched who does the best job, where their whole expertise is mixing products like mine.
Okay.
Where their facility's like a $10 million facility.
Sure.
Because if I reinvented the wheel, I wouldn't be able to do as good a quality work as they do. So.
I have to ask you one more. For if we're gonna eat cheese, like
Okay.
you also have some elite cheese. Like is feta better than
Oh, yeah, she's
Parmesan?
a very good question.
Yeah, see, that's a little out of my expertise too. Raw cheese. You can get raw cheese now. It's a little better. I mean, all cheese is fine. It's decent. They put enzymes in there. It's now with animal products, I am stringent with the whole organic thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm at a restaurant, fine, to heck with it, I'll eat whatever. But
Is there any
what I buy at home,
elite
you don't want to
alcohols?
eat too much cheese. Too much cheese is constipating, like too much of many dairy products.
No, I don't eat too much.
Butter being the exception, not constipating at all. Can actually have the reverse effect.
What about alcohols?
And that's out of my area of expertise
I know
too.
some people that are on gluten-free diets. There are certain alcohols that they only drink soda.
Right, because beer has.
Well, beer's an
Hops.
obvious. Beer's an obvious one. I mean,
Right.
Vodka.
Well, like show. Yeah.
Right,
There are
see-
certain brands, and that
Distilled
does have gluten,
alcohol
yeah.
is the most pure, but it's also the most addictive and easiest one to get away from you. I mean, it's distilled. Because beer is kind of safe in a way because you have to drink a lot to overdo it.
But it has so much gluten.
Right.
Yes, and sugar.
Right. It's a caloric food.
It is a caloric food.
I mean, there's wine, sugar. It's,
Water's.
again, I'm no expertise. I don't know. I wish I could help. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Billy is not
That's right.
There's just so many diets.
Billy's gonna start
Yeah,
selling
it's-
green
Everyone's
alcohol.
You just
everyone,
have so much information coming at you now, and it's like,
You never know.
and then I'm watching. I was sick one day. I was at home watching, like the doctors,
Oh yeah.
and they're pitching like this paleo diet.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
but there's just all this stuff. You're like, I don't fucking know.
I'm somewhat of a believer in the paleo diet, and that it's sort of the most, as far as like diets. See, that's the thing, is the tricky thing is there's just been so many different kinds of diets. It's like, which one?
Right. That's
but the
my
paleo
exactly.
is, I would say, it's like a formulated diet is the most similar I've heard of to like just kind of the hunter-gatherer diet that we
Ancestors.
evolved from over 200,000 years before
Well, that was
we got
the
so many
point of it.
processed
So I
grains.
actually sold me. Because I buy everything. So I bought
Right.
the paleo diet book they recommended.
That's about everything.
It's extreme,
You know, and but you can't have hummus. So
right? I mean, it's basically no grains.
Yeah. So you can't have hummus. So, well, I don't eat grains really. So
I don't either.
so
So the paleo diet is cool,
I
but
like hummus.
but you know, it I think that you're
I like the paleo.
yeah, it's cool. It's cool, I do, but I think I mean, I think you would I think ultimately people would do better with a little less animal protein than the paleo diet pitches. And it requires just eating a massive amount of plant foods like I do. And
So you can use that as a basis.
You guys
of
have to get a
then-
baby
Well,
sit on.
hello.
We're not having naked, right?
And, you know,
Exactly.
naked pool class is cool
Exactly.
too.
Yeah,
but-
but-
Hey, how you
Hi.
doing? Good to
Good.
see you.
Good to see
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Yeah, right
so
on.
I'm gonna. Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been awesome, you guys.
So we're gonna get
Making the basic things at home.
So the ashram